Jesus said in Matthew 24:4, take heed that no man deceive you. Is anybody listening to him? You're listening to the best in Christian talk with Ari Gold.
Hi, I'm Ari Golden. Thank you so much for being with us again today. Today we're going to talk about Brainwashed America. Before we go into our topic, let us go to the Word of the Lord, coming from the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 17, verses 1 through 11. And the Word of the Lord reads, Now the Philistines gathered together their armies to battle, and were gathered together at Shoshol, which belongeth to Judah, and pitched between Shocho and Azekah in Euphrates dam Mim. And Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together and pitched by the valley of Elah, and set the battle in array against the Philistines. And the Philistines stood on a mountain on the one side, and Israel stood on a mountain on the other side, and there was a valley between them. And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines, named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span, and he had a helmet of brass upon his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail. And the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass. And he had greaves of brass upon his legs, and a target of brass between his shoulders. And the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron, and one bearing a shield went before him. And he stood and cried unto the armies of Israel, and said unto them, Why are ye come out to set your battle in array? Am not I a Philistine, and ye servants to Saul? Choose you a man for you, and let him come down to me. If he be able to fight with me, and to kill me, then will we be your servants. But if I prevail against him, and kill him, then shall ye be our servants, and serve us. And the Philistines said, I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man, that we may fight together. When Saul and all Israel heard those words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. May God add a blessing to the reading of his word. Now, you may ask, why did I read a text like that? Well, I'm reading it because, as you can see, of course, we didn't get into the battle between David and Goliath, a very popular story and true account in the scriptures, in the Holy Scriptures. But you notice that the battle was set, quoting from the scriptures, the battle was set in array. Everything was set up for the battle to take place. And I read that because essentially that's where we are today. Everything, the battle has been set in array. Everything has been set up for this coming system that the enemy. Now, when I say everything has been set up, I mean I don't know exactly to the letter, but for the most part, the foundation has been laid for this very satanic system that's trying to come in and be ushered on all of us. Now, I'm not saying God's not in control, because God is in control, and God will triumph evil. However, there will be a revival of evil for a moment. Of course, I'm talking about during the Great Tribulation, and Satan will show his head during Armageddon, but God will defeat Satan. Satan has no chance to win. But there's only one way you can go into the full tyranny and utter evil that we're looking at, that we can read about throughout the scriptures. Daniel, Jesus foretold some of these things in Matthew, the book of Revelation, and other scriptures in the epistles. So the foundation, the ground has already been laid. And it's very disturbing to see this going on in slow motion, and to see that there's only a few of us that really are aware of what's really going on, or appears as though there's only a few of us that know what's going on, or perhaps the others just, they know, but maybe they're just frozen in disbelief, unbelief, shock, what have you. But we're not going to be able to stop this completely because it is foretold, but we can theoretically slow it down through prayer, through speaking out against this, waking people up. Because, as I said before, these people largely get their power through contracting. It's very, very important that we understand the power of contracting. This goes back to the book of Genesis, with Satan tempting Eve in the garden. Eve was defeated because she contracted with Satan. That's how these people get their properties of their magic to work. If they tell you they're doing something bad to you and you don't do anything about it, it magnifies what they're trying to do. Or if they tell you, but they deceive you, but they yet tell you that something's going on and you don't look into it, you don't figure it out, you don't decipher it, then they say, well, we still told you, you just didn't figure it out. You get what you've gotten because you failed to understand what was really going on. And that's really what most of us are really trying to tell you, that we don't have all the answers, but what we're being told represents a lie. It represents many lies. It's very evil. It's a very evil system that we're under. And a lot of Christians, a lot of people who mean well, patty cake with this. And we contract them with them because we say, well, we're trying to get something out of the system. We're trying to help the poor. We're trying to help those in need. But unless you really understand how the system works, your tacit approval is not only not going to help those that need it, but it's going to hurt them because the system is not designed to help anybody. It's very important that we understand that. Now, it's very important that we understand how the world really works. I marvel, again, at the distractions that we're constantly under. Here's my pad again, my Apple iPad. I'm just in random. I'm looking up here the some of the topics here on Yahoo. Let's see. Nightmare cable call. Okay, man's nightmare to cancel his cable service. Okay. Boston survivor focus of film. All right. Well, obviously that's important. A man who survived the Boston bombing. Jeter's All-Star farewell. Tastiest Caesar salads. Jeep crashes pool party. $700 million fortune squandered. Jungle Book cast Mowgli. Okay, and it goes, Wade agrees the deal. All of these frivolous fluff stories are alongside some of the even more serious stories. It just goes to show you the type of way they want us to think. Don't take anything really seriously. See, Yahoo and the other popular websites that feature news stories should talk about democide. What is democide? Democide is death by government. And death by government represents the largest single contributor to death worldwide. You should understand false flags. You should understand the history of eugenics. Planned Parenthood. They should have stories like that. How inflation works. How the central bankers rob from us every day through inflation, which is called the hidden tax. A lot of us don't know that. That's because we're involved with all the fluff. And again, we get what we've gotten largely because of ignorance. But they take our ignorance as a non-excuse because they know that we could research, we could find out what's going on, but because we agree to do nothing, that in their mind, that empowers them over us. That's how this works. That's how this works. We need to wake up. Time is moving so fast. The battle is in array. It's already set. Now, I don't know what's going on. There's been a lot of buildup of our government with the militarization of our police, the expansion of the role of military in our lives with live drills every place, helicopters in crowded cities, Chicago and other major cities, troops landing on roofs and right in the middle of center city of these, in the center of these cities, with police and the military working together and checkpoints and all these things. Go back to look at Alex Jones's police state films. I've got all 4 of them. And he's got video there of Marines and Army assisting with checkpoints in the 90s. All federal programs. These police departments are getting federal money to do this. All right? They're getting us used for something. All the billions of dollars of bullet purchases for various types of weapons. A lot of them automatic now. With the every federal agency, and of course there's so many of them you can't even really count them anymore. All of them have SWAT teams, from the Department of Education, Social Security, all of them. Everybody's got SWAT teams. SWAT teams raining in on people for code violations. I'm not just saying these things. I've researched what I say. And if I had time, I would put them on the screen. I don't even have the wherewithal to do it. But just go and search. I mean, that's why these people believe their magic is so powerful, because they know you could go to the World Wide Web and read the stories, print them out, and share them with others, but instead they engage us with fluff. And then we want to know, why is the world like this? That's because you did not invest in the world. You just went about and did your thing and blocked out what those who have charge over us are doing. You didn't get involved. You took them at their word and what they said. You went for the polished image that you see in our president, and it doesn't matter which one, all of them the same thing, and our Senate and our House of Representative leaders and other leaders in state and federal government who get up there behind nice podiums, polished speeches, and they tell us things, and we largely want to believe it, and we clap, and we think everything is going to be okay. It's not going to be okay. They want us to think a certain way, and they have the media right there in their back pockets. It's amazing how much these people are really able to get away with. I mean, it really spins my head. How can just several thousand people who are involved in this, from my understanding, literally control the world through fraudulent banking, through fiat currencies that they expand and they contract, and they cause various economic problems and triggers in our country, make our prices go up and down, the value go up and down, but they never lose any value. Anything that we lose, what we had gets transferred to them through inflation. I mean, you can go to YouTube if you don't want to read about it, and you can watch videos on it. I do it all the time, along with reading this stuff. It's amazing what they get away with. It's literally the tail wagging the dog. It's actually more like the very tip of the tail wagging the entire dog. That's why I referred to you a few broadcasts ago. Look at this movie. I don't recommend movies too much. I don't watch movies too much. I largely don't. I don't like Hollywood. But this movie, and they didn't mean it to teach us anything. They're making fun of us and how they use the media to manipulate us. It's corporate fascism. Government and corporations working together to shape our thinking, to control our lives, to rob our wealth, and to put us into slavery. This is not the kind of slavery where you're working in the field. This is the kind of slavery where you have a nice car, you have a nice home, you go back and forth to work, but what you have doesn't belong to you. It can be taken from you with just one letter from the IRS. You don't have any property rights. You pay so much money in taxes, and largely most of us are paying enough just to keep a little bit what we have, knowing that we don't have much of a cushion with a small paycheck or emergency or something. It can all be taken from us. And even if it wasn't our own personal money management, as I said, you don't have any real property rights and haven't had it for a while anyway, because the government has the power to tax us the way they do. They can take away our taxes at our property in a whim. All right, it's amazing to me how we're being manipulated, and people don't even have a sense that. I mean, can't you smell that? I know you see the cheese and it looks good, but can't you see that it's sitting on a plate that has a hammer behind it and it's ready to come down and to break your neck or your back? I mean, years ago, people would just be a little bit wary. Man, we just go right along for whatever they tell us. I'm not saying that they lie on every single thing, but even when they tell the truth, it's largely it's largely for bad reasons. But usually it's all lies or misrepresentations. They don't want us to know, they don't want us to see that we're being gamed. All right? I'm not making this stuff up. Look at the middle class. Look at our taxation rates. Look at Obamacare, what it's doing. Look at carbon taxes. Look at the value of the dollar. Look at the price of groceries. Look at our borders being overrun now. There's something else going on. We're not being told the truth. And I can't, for the life of me, get those that I know, let alone strangers, to be interested enough to, one, talk about it, and two, get them to do something. Be concerned about your children and your grandchildren. I know you love them, but understand what's being done to rob them of any future they may have in this world. And I know it's not all about this world. It's all about Christ. And it's not even like, when you talk about this world system, that the world has never been corrupt. It's not even about that. It's about these people literally brain chipping us, poisoning us, killing us, depopulating the earth. I don't know of any world empire before the New World Order that's ever done that. I mean, usually it's been to rule, subjugate people, fight your enemies, but not to take over and to kill 90% of, in their own words, 90% of the population so that they can merge with machines. They call it technocracy. I mean, it's just totally bizarre. And yet I can't get people to wake up, for the most part, and to see what's being done to us. Again, you look at all the armored vehicles the military, the federal government's giving to our local police departments. Many of them in the middle of nowhere. Why? Why now? Oh, it's because of all the wars. They're just trying to help out. Have you seen them? Image them. Start page image them. All right? Look at all the gun purchases again. All right? There's something else going on here. And the reason that they're doing is because they're masking what was inevitably set up to happen in the first place when they set up our fiat currency with the central bankers in 1913. And this has happened throughout Europe and the rest of the world. Okay? Europe is undergoing the same unraveling of their economies because they're under the same central bankers. Fiat currency is designed, central banking is designed to bankrupt the countries, by design, to bankrupt the countries. You destroy the old system and you bring in a new. And the new system for us is the one world currency they're trying to bring us to. Right now, it's the SDR, special drawing rights. All right, and it's even being used right now. All the countries haven't gone to it yet. You need to know about that. You should know about that. Don't be misled into thinking that this is your government. It's an idea. President G.H.W. Bush said it. He said that we were being ushered into, and this is his words, I'm paraphrasing, and he did use the word, it was a new idea, a big idea. It's a new world order. What you are fighting represents an idea, not our government. It's an idea. The idea represents, it encompasses world global power and even beyond. It represents total control of its citizenry. It represents depopulation. It represents total surveillance. It represents total control over everything. It represents wars, endless wars. That's the New World Order. Look at even in this country. Look at all the wars we've had since the Persian Gulf War in the 90s, early 90s. Look at every war. We just keep having one war after another. Although they're not being declared a formal war, they're military actions, but yet they represent bombing and killing people, including children, in wholesale numbers in these countries. We don't have a right to go in another country and to kill people like that. Or even to go into Afghanistan and Iraq and tell them how to live their lives. We would not like them to come here and to go house to house looking for explosives and weapons and things. What makes it right that we do it to them? What about all the unborn babies that we have killed, or aborted through the process called abortion? We don't think that we're not going to pay for that? Sure we are. Wake up. It's not about just being sexually free to do what you want. There's consequences to everything. Whatsoever a man soweth, Jesus said, that also shall he reap. You're going to reap what you sow. Now, I'm not saying none of us haven't made mistakes, but we need to wake up and repent and get ourselves in a better direction, because we are heading headlong for the cliff at full steam. Understand that your tax dollars are funding your destruction. While they tell us they don't have any money, they need more of our money, they're not going to stop doing it. Meanwhile, they're building all of these deep underground military bases, these DUMBs, all across the world. Meanwhile, they're giving all of these monies to these to fund these wars all across the globe. But they don't have any money. They've got the money. All this money to surveil us, to record us, to store that information about us. It takes a lot of money to do it. And those are our tax dollars. Yet they say the infrastructure of this country is falling apart. Well, yeah, I guess it is. Because it's all being shifted towards the militarization of the police, our total surveillance, for compounds for the elite, so that when they destroy everything and everyone's out here killing each other, they're going to be in swimming pools deep underground. All right? We're under corporate fascism. Stop looking for your government to save you. Your salvation comes from the Lord. How can these people have your best interest at heart and you don't even have access to them, to your elected representatives? They have access, the corporate heads have access to them though. But again, they're a part of the same system, this corporate fascism, replete with all of the this big idea that George H.W. Bush talked about with the pyramids and the 666s and the phalluses and all of this, in the name of CBS with the big I, and the elite are fascinated with the eyes, with Target with the phallus, with Monster with 666, with Macy's with the Red Star. Why did they pick the Red Star of communism? That's who these people are. They really are. It's who they are. It's all hidden in plain sight. People need to wake up and understand how the world really works. All right? The endless wave. I'm not going to get into all of these. I'm not going to get into all these stories, but the endless wave of illegal immigrants continues to flood our country. All right? I'm looking at that. The ultimate goal of the NSA is total population control. Very high level, top level, former NSA official William Binney tells us. Go and look up the stories. They're right here. Obama finally has some good economic news to deliver, and it's all lies. It's all lies. It's all manipulation. One last thing. General Petraeus, he said just a week or so ago at the Margaret Thatcher Conference on Liberty. Wow, see how they do? They state the very opposite. In his presentation to the conference, Petraeus proclaimed the coming of the North American decade, a vision he explained was founded on the idea of putting together the economies of the United States, Canada, and Mexico some 20 years later after the creation of the North American Free Trade Agreement. That's the reason why they keep pushing all the stuff for the illegals, because the elected representatives already know that we are a part of the North American Union right now. All right? It's been a long time since Clinton signed us into that, but now they're really starting to push it really hard on us. All right? First, we're going to go to the North American currency, then it's one step before global currency. You're already a part of global government. You don't even know it. All right, our quote for the day comes from John Perkins, Confessions of an Economic Hitman, in his book. Economic hitmen are highly paid professionals who cheat countries around the globe out of trillions of dollars. They fund money from the World Bank, U.S. Agency for International Development, and other foreign aid organizations into the coffers of huge corporations and the pockets of a few wealthy families who control the planet's natural resources. Their tools include fraudulent financial reports, rigged elections, payoffs, extortion, sex, and murder. They play a game as old as empire, but one that has taken on new and terrifying dimensions during this time of globalization. All right, thank you so much. You really need to pay attention, learn how the world really works.
You've been listening to WYU 93.4, riding the last wave of U.S. freedom and Christian talk.